Good afternoon. We're going to get started with our session. Thanks for coming back from lunch promptly. Thanks for making your way to this room this morning. We're going to have a session called Run Your Entire Contact Center in the Cloud. Obviously quite appropriate here since it's all about the cloud. We're in the service track. My name is Sheila McGee-Smith. I'm an industry analyst. I have my own firm, McGee-Smith Analytics. I've been covering the contact center space for 20 years. And obviously hosted is something that's sort of come and gone. But I think with Salesforce.com and some of its contact center partners, like LiveOps here, we're seeing a whole new generation of contact center application, a new way of doing things. And that's why I'm excited to be here and with three of the users of LiveOps software with Salesforce.com software. So with me here on the stage, I have Steve Silbulkin, who is the CEO of Expert Planet. I have Jack Sands, who's the CEO of vForce, which is a AAA of Ohio company. And we also have Charles Oppenheimer, who is a Salesforce.com user of LiveOps. So it's going to be an interesting session to get their perspectives. In fact, in September at the launch for the Service Cloud 2, the CEO of Salesforce, Mark, called the Service Cloud both the killer application and the shining star for 2009. So this is one of the growth areas. Of course, this is until Chatter came along, so we'll see what happens by next year. In other presentations here at Dreamforce, you've heard about the exciting developments that are rolling out. In this session, we're going to talk about how Salesforce.com is working with a software-as-a-service contact center solution, specifically LiveOps, to allow companies to run not just customer CRM in their contact centers from the cloud, but to do that in an integrated way, the contact center and the CRM application. So I'm going to move on to our safe harbor statement, the crux of which is you should make your purchase decisions based on available products. Some of the things that we talk about may not be available, but unlike some of the other contact center vendors you may see on the show floor or the expo floor, the LiveOps application is clearly alive and integrated today with Salesforce.com. So you can make that purchase decision right now. So managing your entire contact center from the cloud. As I said, our agenda, I'll just open with a sort of introductory bit of information. We'll follow that with Jack Sands. And Jack is going to talk about using LiveOps from the perspective of administration. So what does it mean to administer a contact center using LiveOps and Salesforce.com? Then we're going to move on to Steve from Expert Planet. He's going to take more of an agent perspective. Sort of what does the agent view look like? How does an agent work in this environment? And then we're going to have Charles from Salesforce.com do a live demo of the LiveOps and Salesforce.com integration. Then I'll come back up and we'll do some Q&A. So we're going to try and keep it 10 to 12 minutes for each of the speakers and leave lots of time for Q&A. So please make note of your questions and we'll have a Q&A session at the end. That's the way we'll handle that. So contact center in the cloud. What are the sort of the key reasons, the key hot buttons, the key advantages of doing contact center in the cloud? Well, number one there is move all of your centers into the cloud is one way of doing it, saying I've got 3 or 4 or 5 or 100 different contact centers. Let's move those all into the cloud, and that's one way that you can do it, sort of slowly move everything in. The other one is to integrate what you're doing today and over time migrate things into the cloud. So let's say you have a new application coming on stream. You keep the existing contact centers in place, and LiveOps and Salesforce.com can lie on top of that and just become a new point of a new place for calls to be answered. So LiveOps can work to integrate all of your existing systems in addition to new systems that you use in the cloud. So there's a way of doing both a hybrid model as well as a complete greenfield, let's start all over. Because we're in a market right now where there's a huge transition happening in the contact center application space. Lots of people have older, what's known as TDM digital technology, and as we go forward into an IP environment, there's a choice point, right? As we move to more IP SIP-based environments, the choice is to move to another premises-based solution or to do what Salesforce.com and the other speakers here have done, which is to make more of a dramatic leap straight into a software as a service kind of environment. So the nice thing, as the diagram shows, is you can do that all at once, or you can do that, migrate that over time. So I'm excited to introduce our first speaker, who is Jack Sands, who is the CEO of vForce, AAA Ohio. Please take the stand.
Thank you. Thank you, Sheila. Well, hello, everybody. Thank you for coming out today. My name is Jack Sands. I'm CEO of vForce, which is a AAA Ohio company. We're a virtual call center, and what that means is everybody that works for us works from home all across the country. We service AAA exclusively, and what we do for them is expired renewal. So when your AAA membership expires, we're the ones that call you to get you to renew your membership. AAA reached out to us because they were having a little bit of a problem trying to get folks to look at them beyond roadside assistance. So if I was to poll this room, please raise your hand. How many people here, when I say roadside assistance, think of AAA? How many people think of show your card and save? I will see. And so they need to get past that, okay? And so AAA's got, you're probably watching all the commercials from insurance companies where they're giving away the roadside assistance. People are starting to pick away at that roadside assistance business. But does everybody here know that we're the second largest insurance company in the country? Does everybody know that, I mean, you know, probably a lot of us business people, we travel, you know, Hertz and hotels and all those kind of things. So essentially they needed a CRM, and not just for our purposes, but think about this. When somebody does not renew their membership, who better to talk to? You know, because they're going to tell you why they did not renew. They had no way of capturing that information, that valuable information about why didn't you renew your membership. And so we originally were a B2B appointment setting company, okay? And we used Salesforce.com as an SFA to manage salespeople. So we would call and set appointments for high-level salespeople, and then we would maintain their data in Salesforce.com, okay? And then we saw that, you know what, we can cross-pollinate a lot of the things that we do in the B2B world with CRM into the B2C world. And it translated really well. So basically we were able to take what we were hearing on the phone, put it into a CRM like Salesforce.com, and they could build their marketing initiatives against the information that we were giving them. And as a byproduct of that, we raised their renewal rates, because just by putting everything on a system like Salesforce.com, it created efficiencies. Now, also we have tremendous people that work for us. You know, having a remote model, I don't know how many people have a remote model where you have people? Okay. So you know, it gives you the luxury of being able to hire nationally. So you can be very selective about who you bring on. But either way, using systems like this made us more efficient, and we were able to increase the renewal rates by about 15 minutes, by about 15 points. SaaS is an infrastructure. Our company, it's not that we just use SaaS products. It's the core of what we do. Being AAA, our members are sacred, okay? The member experience is everything to us. So the systems we use need to be highly reliable, secure, web-based, and absolutely scalable. I mean, the membership database is like the Holy Grail. That's all I can tell you. All of our systems are integrated into Salesforce.com. We're integrated into AAA's back-end systems. And our contact system needed to be integrated into Salesforce as well. And this leads me to the core of my presentation today, okay? We were very, very frustrated with the situation that we were in, okay? We were using Salesforce.com, but we wanted to use the call center version of Salesforce.com. Now, I don't know, how many people have seen the call center version, okay? Phenomenal stuff. When they first came out with it, you had to have hardware. You had to have a big, you know, enterprise system on site to use the call center edition in their soft phone, which I thought was kind of contradictory in some respects. And so I was frustrated. So then we said, okay, something needs to change. And then all of a sudden, something did change. So we were able to now use the call center edition of Salesforce. We deployed it in 1 week, which is remarkable, okay? And those of you that you know Salesforce, you know how easy it is to get things done. We integrated all of those back-end systems into the call center edition within 3 months. Again, remarkable. We were having a lot of problems with our current providers. We didn't have the reliability. These are good companies, good people, but it wasn't a good fit. And that reliability, if you walk away with anything from my presentation today, it's about reliability, I promise you. LiveOps, that's one thing you've got to know. Reliability, 100%. In 2 years that I've been using them, we have never been down, not once. Okay? I've never gotten a letter from the CEO saying, I'm so sorry we went to the upgrade, that's why you were shut down for 2 hours. Never happened. Okay? That's kind of freaky, to be honest with you. So I went on the App Exchange, like I always do every time I need something. Okay? I see LiveOps. And then all of a sudden I see, okay, they're using the call center edition. Then I see a screenshot of the soft phone there. And I'm like, you got this. I'm just absolutely waiting for the other shoe to drop, right? Then I see, okay, it's fully integrated, and it's also PSTN. So those of you that don't know what PSTN is, that's just using your landline. It's not VoIP. So when you got people working from home in their remote areas, VoIP is not the way to go. You need to use landlines, okay? And basically what happens is you place a call, the phone rings, you pick it up, place a second leg of the call, sort of like a conference call. That was very, very important to me, and most of the other companies used VoIP. Also, as we were going through the decision-making process, LiveOps has 20,000 agents of their own, and they're using this platform to manage those 20,000 agents. So I said, my gosh, if they can do that, it can certainly handle my 60 agents, right? I think it was probably the quickest contract I've ever signed in my life. I did it in 2 days, okay? They were able to get the full integration, full platform in 2 weeks. They trained all of my people. But the one thing about LiveOps, which I love, okay, when you call them to get something done, sure, they'll do it for you. But 10 out of 10 times they'll say, okay, let's do a WebEx and I'll show you how to do it. So they want the users to really understand the system, because some of this stuff is pretty simple. Their back end is very, very intuitive. So we've gotten to a point where we can manage the system ourselves. I'm not having to call LiveOps to do that. We can do all the simple stuff ourselves. But I really recommend. At first it was irritating because they'd say, well, let's do WebEx. I said, well, just do it. And they said, no. But either way, at the end, we really did learn something. Did all the IVRs and voice talent. This is a screenshot of the call center edition of Salesforce.com. And as you see, this is fully integrated. And a lot of the other systems, that's not the case. Basically, what they'll do is they'll have a link, or it will pop up another browser. And anytime you have too many moving parts, things go wrong. Okay? But by having the soft phone built into the Salesforce platform, it reduced that. So the errors just literally disappeared. Taking a look here, essentially what you do is you click the phone number right from within Salesforce, and it initiates the soft phone over on the left-hand side. And if you look at that, I mean, that is that is a fully functioning phone. Put it on hold, transfer calls. If something needs to be transferred to a supervisor. They also have the wrap-up, which is a killer feature. It allows us to go ahead and update contact information. And I think that probably one of the coolest things is you see that comment box right there? Basically, whatever comments that you put into that box will transfer over and create an activity in Salesforce.com. Killer, okay? So you've got to imagine, we're making 10,000, 12,000 outbound calls a day. So it's about speed and redundancy. Also, one of the things we don't use, which I would recommend if you use LiveOps to do, is they have the disposition. So something else would pop up and you'd be able to do a disposition, made contact, those types of things, so that you can track it on the back end of Salesforce LiveOps system as well. We chose not to do it because we do a lot of updating and things of that nature. But really, I mean, that's amazing when you can get into the reporting. Call recording, phenomenal. I think this is the most underutilized thing in companies. Everybody's got to jump on the train here. We use this for training. We use this for, cover your ass. And there's one story that I have is essentially we have, AAA has access to the system. We had somebody that called in and said, your guy or your person said that we were going to get a free gas card, okay, which was like a $15 value. And so the woman logged in. Within 10 seconds, she's able to pull it up right from within Salesforce.com. It goes right down to the activity, clicks on the link, pops up the recording, and it starts to play. She didn't realize her speakers were on. So the person's on the phone, and they hear themselves. And they say, no, that's fine. No. Just forget about it. I don't worry about the gas card. That's pretty powerful. I mean, I don't recommend doing that. I think that's kind of, not the AAA way, I guess you'd say. But In essence, it's an amazing feature. Also, what we do is we create views within Salesforce.com for our clients. So our client will come to us, or AAA will come to us and say, I want to hear everybody that said that we had financial problems. I can't do it because I think your service is too expensive. Okay? So we create a view in Salesforce.com. They log in, pull down that view, and they just go one to the next and listen to those particular recordings. Think how powerful that is. And I can't tell you, when I want to make a point or if I want something, I pull out recordings. Because don't listen to me. Listen to the customer. And I'm a CEO, and I cannot tell you how many phone calls I listen to. I mean, it's the most powerful thing you can imagine. Because I could sit here all day and say the price is too high, the price is too high, the price is high. But now if I gave you 50 recordings and you were listening to your members or you were listening to your customers complain, man, that's really powerful. In terms of training, amazing. This is what we're left with, the benefits of LiveOps. Okay? Cost-effective, fast deployment. I mean, 2 weeks is crazy. Very, very quick story. We actually launched another product through AAA. Okay? Smallest GPS tracking device in the world. You're going to start to see this very soon. Your car breaks down, we're going to be able to find you within 5 feet. Our trucks aren't going to be driving all around anymore. Also, children. It's going to locate children, all through AAA. The call center we used was a 911 emergency response call center that interacted with police and all that. So it's not something my call center could handle, and it was also 24/7. Their customer service was horrendous. These people were horrible. So we took that element back in-house. Last Thursday, okay, and you can imagine LiveOps is busy right now because they got the show, and I can see probably a lot of LiveOps people here right now. As of today, we are fully functional, okay? Full voiceovers, all the transfers, because one number gets transferred to AAA's roadside assistance. That's okay. One gets transferred to child locate, and so all the voiceovers, everything is done as of today. So that took 1 week. And again, because we were interactive, so we brought it from 2 weeks to 1 week because of the fact that they had trained us on how to help them build out the system, which is pretty remarkable. We increased our productivity by 20%, and that's being very conservative. I'm not just throwing this 20% number out. Absolutely 100%. The reliability, again, not to beat a dead horse, was pretty amazing, but that's associated with costs and also productivity. We established a pay-per-minute model. That's how LiveOps operates on their own. And also to tell you guys, it's another thing that's great about LiveOps, is that they have 20,000 agents. We also use their agent pool. So there's peaks and valleys in our business. And so when we get slammed, instead of hiring people and then letting people go, we actually push calls off to their 20,000 people to help us out, which is great. And then we're on the same exact platform, so we can transfer the calls. So we consider our people then second tier. Their people do the initial calls, and then we transfer. So that's another thing to think about, their 20,000 agents. Then also we're able to reduce our labor. Because we're more efficient now, we don't need to have as many people anymore. Everything is going much, much quicker. Visibility and control, their reporting modules are phenomenal, and I think hopefully you guys are going to talk about that a little bit. You can see a complete view of what's going on. And again, you got to remember, they're managing 20,000 agents. So you know they spent a hell of a lot of time on the reporting and analytical side of the business. And then that 100%, the call recording immediately accessible in Salesforce. I can't say enough about that. So I am going to be at their booth for a little bit after this. If anybody has any questions for me. Is anybody here from AAA by any chance? Which club? Ah. Oh, yeah, cool. We'll talk when we're done. Oh, what club? Ah, awesome. We'll come by.
Each other very much.
I was going to say, you guys look like you're good friends, huh? I'm going to be at the booth. If anybody has any questions, come by and see me. I'll spend some time with you and talk if you have some questions, okay? But thank you so, so much.
Good afternoon. My name is Steve Spolkin. I'm the CEO of Expert Planet. We're located in New York City. And we have a different brand of contact centers. So our focus is on increasing customer lifetime value for our clients. So we have a range of clients where we provide a whole slew of services. And the challenge that we try to resolve for the clients are these. Where we go into a contact center or a marketing group, we typically see that there is a very specific transactional focus to the marketing and to the contact and communication with the client. So, for example, a company that's selling a product produces it, a customer calls in, they see an ad, the agent pretty commonly will capably handle that call. They would convert at some percent, mission accomplished. For us, that's really where a beginning of a opportunity exists to provide downstream commercial opportunities, an extended branded service, a coaching channel, an advisory channel, all executed through the contact center. And I'll tell you a little bit more about how we do that. The second thing is that before we started the company, we talked to about 30 different prospective clients, some very large, some mid-sized, some small. And there, in this room, this problem doesn't exist, but there's a whole group of landlocked clients. So for our business, where we provide an expert advisory service, we needed a larger web of sure. Is that better? Can everyone hear me? Okay. We needed a larger web of talent that we could pull from. So a virtual talent group enabled by virtual technology that was distributed was kind of what we were looking for. So right now we have 3 parts of our business that we use to deliver this service. One is a old school, bring in smart relationship marketing guys. We have a lot of folks that work in advertising agencies. I myself come from Ogilvy and Mather. These are people that understand brands, can create contact strategies, prices, price changes, price testing, bundles, downstream experiences, multi-channel experiences. That's part of the services and agency-like capability. The second is the virtual platform. And so, again, what we were trying to do was to take a transactional interaction and extend it over the lifetime of a customer. So we partnered with 2 companies very closely. One was LiveOps. So LiveOps, as you've heard, has a very powerful kind of telephony underbelly, right? It had a large pool of agents, knew how to create rules, workflow capabilities, invoicing, and so forth. And so we partnered with LiveOps as kind of that scalable, high-quality platform. On top of that, we put a CRM-like capability and some commercial utilities. The center of gravity there was Salesforce. I'm going to show you some of the things that we created there. Okay? And, of course, we have our own expert group. And these are experts in beauty, fitness, small business, finance, and so forth. So this integrated suite is the basis for our version of the contact center. Currently, we have about 150 agents. And from a cloud and technology perspective, if I was walking around the Expo Center earlier, and it's kind of a dizzying array of things that are provided here. And so we take advantage of those things, the infrastructure as a service, the platform as a service, the software as a service. We try to do as little of that as possible, kind of the scalable, virtualized underbelly of the business. And we think of ourselves as a kind of a bionic arm on top of the cloud, kind of an expert in the cloud component. Working with LiveOps and Salesforce has allowed us to kind of move up the stack, if you will. So we can innovate, we can focus on the thing that we need to do, which is provide innovative customer and brand experiences to our clients so they can monetize their business without us having to have a whole range of technologists and telephony experts. Okay? So this is one view of what our agents will see. The metaphor that we use for our agents is a store, right? Our agents, as with Jack's, are independent contractors. They are entrepreneurs, small business people. And so what we deliver to them are leads, certification, kind of a training elements, an integrated platform for them to go and run this business, reporting, benchmarking, peer review, peer contact, community contact, all executed through these deployments. So what you'll see here is a typical agent view. The customer here is a hypothetical Jane Smith. What you'll see, and you kind of a pointer here, are a set of opportunities. Opportunities in this case are opportunities that work across different clients. So it could be a financial product on the one hand, a secondary product from that same client, or it could be a completely different partnership. The activity history is the activity that occurs across those different opportunities. So any online interaction, any offline interaction, It could be a explicit note, a behavior. Any type of interaction is captured by the agent. So essentially what they're doing is managing the store. Who comes in, how did they monetize it, and who leaves. And when they left, why. And when they find a customer that's a high-value customer, how do they reach out to them. And I think Jack showed something similar to here. We use the LiveOps CTI adapter to integrate with Salesforce. So we have a kind of a outbound panel. You'll see that in the top left-hand side. Kind of a very simple click-to-call that we've integrated into our store. Some examples, and then I'll tell you where the efficiency came in these in the model, particularly as it relates to the technology. So Modern Media is a company that, if you know them, you probably know them from their core product, which is something called the InStyler. InStyler is a hair styling and flattening product. What we did there is we created a downstream expert channel for them. That channel was called a Beauty Advisory Channel. We used a whole set of testing to try to identify reasons that someone would want to buy their product and link to a downstream commercial opportunity and service. We tested that over time. We were able to create a 60% buy-in. And then what was interesting was this service rendered by these expert agents. And here we were bringing in true beauticians. We were bringing in hair specialists. We were bringing some people that were just simply interested in the category. They were able to create a process where we were selling 70% continuity products. If you're in the commercial selling space, you know selling a continuity product is very difficult. So we use this kind of virtual web of experts enabled through this technology to find people that were able to form that relationship and create that continuity relationship. Vermont Teddy Bear, you may know, sells bears, pajamas, a whole range of gifting items. Here, something happened that was very interesting that purely was enabled by this platform. So we ran a very quick test with them. This was over Mother's Day. Their average order size is about $70 or $80. Okay, and that's how they view their gift buyer. So what we were trying to do, we had a hypothesis that we were trying to validate and test, which was, can you knock someone off of that particular order size and see if you can make them purchase something or compel them to purchase something much larger? So we created a product, again, a continuity product, probably about $220. So what happened here was we positioned it, we wrote the script, we found the agents, we certified them to sell it, and we had a little bit of success, not a great amount of success. We ran the program, we revised the script, again, not much success. Then something interesting happened. Okay, so one day we were looking at the data, and I'll show you some of the panels that we used to find this data. We saw one particular agent was really devastating everybody else, just dominating the performance. Conversion, order size, because we could listen to all the calls, they're all recorded, we listened to her calls, and she was doing something which was very unique, which was selling the products kind of in a incremental way. This product will cost you one thing, the next product will cost you $45, this product will cost you $52, instead of presenting things as a unified bundle. A small step, a small change, but what we were able to do because of the technology and because of this virtual group was we identified the true performer, the best performer. We listened to the call. We identified what was the best practice. We codified it. We brought in the expert group. We retrained, which took not very long. We wrote the script. Probably in about 6 hours, everyone was using this best practice. That is something that I think would be very, very difficult to do in a non-virtual environment. We had the cookie trail that these services provide, the recording that we needed to provide the qualitative insight about what was happening, and then the virtual network of experts who can go and deploy this particular insight. TJX was a kind of social media program where we were providing a range of inventory hunters who went into the stores. TJX is the owner of TJ Maxx at Marshall's, to look at the inventory and identify kind of hot products and distribute it there again using the virtual tools enabled by this platform to find people who are enthused about shopping discounts in these particular brands. Okay. This is one of the administrative views for the agents. What you'll see here on the top is one of the simpler views. It's actually a list of agents on the left-hand side, call, conversion, order time, non-order time as well, and their billings for that particular campaign for that day. This goes much deeper, of course, script, product type, time of day, other programs that they were on, what they've been good at, their experience and so forth. We use this relentlessly, and we have a whole group of statisticians and analysts who look at this and do performance-based routing against it. Performance-based routing is one of the reasons that our contact center will typically outperform another contact center. That is purely enabled in this case by LiveOps technology. The second part is just another view of how we use some of the Salesforce objects actually to link into our fulfillment partners. Salesforce is customized for us. We use the API and put a data integration layer from a company called Scribe. We use Scribe to link into different fulfillment houses, and so what we're able to do is identify any sales that come through continuity. So we've used kind of these custom objects and this data integration to provide some custom capabilities for our program. So what I'd like to leave you with here is I know Jack here talked about some of the speed, the acceleration to get to market. For us, that's been important. The capital intensity or the lack of capital that we needed to kind of do some of these underlying technology builds has been important. What's more important for us is that we don't think we could actually pull this model off without the virtual capability. We need the virtual web of talent. We need the distributed technology. And we think of that function as not necessarily a time saver, but a requirement just to execute the model itself. So thank you.
See if my mic's working. Yeah. Two mics are working. Let's see. I need to set up my VPN, but I'll start with an introduction. Charles Oppenheimer, Salesforce.com. I am the business lead for our Salesforce deployment of LiveOps in our service center. So basically, our service center, everybody who's a Salesforce customer who might call in, calls our deployment. And as a company, when we were looking around to deploy this, we chose LiveOps as the vendor. It's a really key partnership for us. What I'm going to do in this demo is go a little bit high level about what our project is, and then get into the demo and show you the actual application. Just kind of browse around it and show a real-life demo. We're going to take a look at Salesforce customers calling in real time that's going on now. So what we are, of course, is global, 24/7, 10 languages, around 350 reps. It depends on how many agents are logged in at one point. And an important point, 1.5 million customers. That's a really important part of our model. How many people in this room are Salesforce customers? Everybody? So, I mean, that's just an interesting model. Think about the last time you called up Oracle as an end user and said, how do I do this? Maybe Microsoft. We provide direct end user support to every customer. So I would categorize our call center as a potentially very high volume. We have big spikes, lots of customers, but really high complexity. Customers everywhere. Very, very important skills-based routing. We have multiple tiers of service that we provide. We have premier customers. We have basic customers. We do things like route individual Salesforce customers to individual sales support reps within our organization based on exactly who's calling in and what would be the best agent anywhere in the world for them to get to. So when we looked at this project, there was a couple key points. One was the infrastructure upgrade. We obviously have been running a call center and a support center for many years at Salesforce. And we wanted to use a more cloud-based system. We had really a big variety of on-premise things like Cisco, IPCCX in the call center for our agents, and we had multiple vendors, partners who work with us who provide support. They were using things like Aspect, Avaya. We're using different IVR systems. About 7 or 8 things that we pulled together in this deployment. And a real key piece of it is Salesforce. Obviously, anybody who logs into Salesforce has access to a service call center, right? Your agent can be anywhere in the world, and we do that. our phone, the only other thing you need to pull this call center together is a phone number through LiveOps. So our agents in the call center put their phone number in. Our agents in the center log in with their phone number, and everybody is on the same global platform. Whether the end destination call is to via Aspect, it all works together. So, kind of echoing Jack's and Steve's point, since our infrastructure upgrade of this deployment, we've had a lot less downtime, almost none since we've rolled out LiveOps. And it was a really fast-paced, 6-month, global, complex, skills-based, true call center. I mean, you guys are Salesforce users. May not think of Salesforce as the call center of the future. It's definitely probably one of the most compelling offerings to provide inbound service, not just sales and outbound stuff now. It's amazing. I've come from maybe more of an on-premise background, and seeing where Salesforce is going and partners like LiveOps is pretty compelling. So, of course, we use Service Cloud features, things that come from Salesforce, click-to-dial, activity creation, screen pop, transfer calls, everything that was demoed with our screen pops. We use those. Those come from Salesforce. So me being a Salesforce guy, of course, I'm going to be pushing that out there. We depend on LiveOps. It's a very close integration that we've deployed. Half of those features are built into Salesforce, and half of them are coming from your telephony vendor. And they all provide really key advantages, mainly recognizing, in our case, we're inbound customer service. If we can recognize that customer, let that customer know who they are, we know why they're calling, and we get that caller to the best person in the world to provide service, it saves us time, it saves us money, makes the customer happier. So service tier routing, global dynamic routing, these are big components for us. When I say global dynamic routing, with LiveOps, since we have all the agents, anywhere they log into the system, LiveOps knows where they are. What we used to do is we would route calls to a center, say in San Francisco. The calls would sit there for 60 seconds, maybe 120, and then we would transfer the call out over the telephone system, and it ends up in, say, Costa Rica or Tokyo. And in that process, you're losing 60 seconds. You're making the customer wait. With LiveOps right now, it's viewing the entire body of agents anywhere in the world. What if one of those centers went down, San Francisco? We instantly transfer the call to the right place. LiveOps is making that decision for us for every center in the world on one platform. So that was a big piece for us. And, of course, enterprise visibility. That was just basic metrics. What's going on in your call center? How many calls are you taking? Things like that. So what I'm going to do is get into the demo portion and show you our call center in real time. And a nice part of this system is that LiveOps is cloud-based. And I'm going to go ahead and just log into a browser and show you our call center and just walk through it. This is the LiveOps homepage. This is our call center today. Basically what we're doing are volumes. I tend to log in this as a manager, a call center manager. This would be my first stop, usually checking about our volume. I was kind of curious yesterday to see if there was a big spike or less of a spike from Dreamforce. Is there more customers here and taking less calls? It was about the same as the day before. As you can see today, maybe some people built up some questions or took a little more time. These are just kind of out-of-the-box features that we got with LiveOps. We didn't do any customization. But, honestly, as a company, we had a very good view into case flow, but we couldn't have answered how many calls did we take in, where did they go. Now it just kind of pops out in the system for us since we deployed it. This is the area I look at a lot when I'm managing it. We deployed this center, and now I spend most of my time looking at it with my different business partners who run support. And I'm looking at what are our top campaigns for inbound and outbound calls. I can see our basic campaign has most of the calls, our America greeting. These are high-level points. Another thing I would look at a lot is IOPS. This is a real-time monitoring. So in a service center, something that you always need is what is your availability? What's going on in your call center? I take just a quick glance here, and I would see something like we have 72 agents logged in right now. Last 30 minutes, 114 calls. We have a 93% service level. These rolled up for every class of service that we have, from basic to premier, individual, and this just gives me a really quick snapshot. If I wanted to see what our agents were doing, I could look at the 14 agents who are on the call right now. 17 agents on the call right now, and basically by convention, or if I was going to sort by campaign name, I could see, well, what are we doing in Premier in different levels? This IOPS, this real-time visibility is quite handy for us. I can see people in the IVR right now. I can see people in queue and what they're doing, maybe why they're in queue. Something that I use sometimes as a service manager is listen to a call. I don't use it quite as much personally in a real-time basis as some managers who are managing, say, 10 agents. They want to listen to a call as it's going on. I often listen to a call after it's happened. What I would do, maybe, if I click on this button, I'm not going to do it right now, I would get an inbound call, and even on stage, we could listen to the agent taking the call. Instead, I'm going to cherry pick one that 2 days ago, we could do it.
No, I'm just kidding.
First, I'll do the cherry picked one from 2 days ago. I was talking to one of the agents, and he said, you know, one of my customers called in, and they were really surprised I knew who they were. And that's a good message from the Service Cloud. This is basic stuff, right? We're rolling out service. We have CTI integration. Everybody has a case object. They have CRM systems. How many times do you call a company, you put in a bunch of data, and they don't know who you are? It seems to happen every time. And you don't need to do that with Salesforce. You know, if you deploy a good system, you don't have to. So I'll give an example of that through the reporting suite. I spend a lot of my times in this reporting suite, and I have hundreds of reports saved here. The other thing we do is very close integration with Salesforce. Every single phone call that comes into the LiveOps system does an API call into Salesforce. So if you're calling in, we might be determining based on your phone number, do we know who you are? Are you entitled to Premier service? Things like that. This is something that I would do. This is a report by an agent I was looking at, and he picked out one of the phone calls for me where he had mentioned that the customer was kind of surprised. I'll ask for dead silence, even though it's already dead silent. Take a listen to this. It's kind of funny.
Salesforce.com support. This is Bruce. Is this Cindy?
Yes.
Hey, Cindy, how are you today?
Good. How you know my name?
Oh, it popped right up on my screen.
Oh, really? How come?
Yeah, very. It's either because we know your phone, our system knows your phone number, or you put in your personal passcode.
Oh, okay. That's great. Okay. Yes, I
Yeah,
will have to, tell my name from starting. Okay. Good.
And then they get into the service.
Your name is Bruce.
So did everybody hear that? It was
That's
just a
right.
funny
Yeah, yeah.
interaction, you know. But we found, you know, we even did usability studies about this when we were doing the deployment. If you could get your phone calls to somebody who really knows you, as soon as the phone call comes in, it makes you a happy customer. And we do things like, if we know who you are, we have different classes of service. I don't know if you guys know this as customers, but we might call one customer a Premier Tier 2 customer. You're a designated contact. You're part of one of our big accounts. If we know who you are, we're going to route you right to a dedicated agent. You may never even hear an IVR. So those are some of the features that we found quite successful, the API integration. This one's kind of cool, this map view, to see our real production environment. See what's going on in the call center. I guess you can see that all right. I can see my main two areas of interest are San Francisco and Watertown, so I'm often looking at that, and I'll see which agents exactly are taking calls, where our customers calling from, and what's going on in the call center. I don't spend all my time looking at this, but it is broadcast up on a board in the service center where we have all our tech support, and people can, you know, they know what's going on, the agents, the managers. Very open system there. Those are the big things. What I wanted to do is show you features that are really what we use as managers more than agents. You saw a lot of the screen pop behavior from screen pops or screen pops. Mark demoed one in the keynote yesterday. You know what that's like to get a call in and you see some information. So these are the things that you'll end up spending a lot of time looking at. I'll show you one other part of Salesforce, which if you excuse me, I have to log into my VPN first. We take all that data and import it into Salesforce, all the call detail records and everything that happened. And for certain managers, that provides key metrics because most of our managers obviously live in Salesforce deployment instead of looking at the monitoring system, the telephony system. So we have half the guys who do very complex monitoring, and half of them would only look at Salesforce to see the KPIs that are basically pushed out of LiveOps into Salesforce. I'll just log in here, and then I'll leave it open for questions and stuff like that after I show you a Salesforce view, hopefully. So this is my agent console. I mean, I can log in and show it to you real briefly. Typical stuff, ready for call. We use reason codes when we log out. But what I was going to show you is the dashboard view that we spend a fair amount of time looking at. Even though we have historical views in different areas, I might take a look at the number of agents logged into the system, the number I want. That one's a fair amount. Let's see, GCC. We have a lot of dashboards in Salesforce. While I'm pulling that up, any initial questions or?
We have a question here.
Yeah.
You guys mentioned that you had a lot of different IVRs prior to LiveOps. When you roll out LiveOps, do you have to make one global rollout, or can you roll out per segment? Or
You can definitely roll out per segment. So for our case, we rolled out in Japan first in Japanese. So that was a very interesting project. We had a great project team on the LiveOps side, and internally we worked on it a lot. And we chose what would be the hardest place to roll out an IVR system in the world, Japan. And we got a lot of agents there. They all speak Japanese. Our customers speak Japanese. And we did the IVR design, and we did the routing design. We did the screen pop. We did the integration to cases. When you call, you leave a voicemail. We did everything in Japanese. And while the rest of our calls were coming into the U.S., into our older Cisco system. Next, we did Sydney. Then we did the U.S.
now, during the rollout, did they integrate very well, or do you have issues with that?
They integrate.
Repeat the question if you can.
Okay, so the question was, during the rollout, did the systems integrate quite well? So we had very many different levels of integration, and the hardest part of the rollout of LiveOps was quite simple because the system worked quite well, but until we got to a global platform, which was just around this October with a 6-month deployment, it was difficult to take the calls in, and then you have to transfer it out to the system. That was our old system. Imagine the one we replaced. Every time you took a call and you're going from one place to another, you transfer it. As soon as we took them down one by one, and each one we took down, we would not have to integrate and send calls out. Now that it's on a system, 24/7, you call into our system, and we don't transfer it out. So we dealt with the integration while we had to. Now that we don't, I just kick back and relax. It's awesome. Yeah, those were good questions. Yeah.
Let's open it up for questions for all the speakers in addition to Charles.
Yeah.
So if a caller calls in on a record on a phone number that you don't have in your system, do you somehow append that new number they're calling from to your system so that next time it does pick it up and call?
You sound like my SVP, because she asked for that feature. I'd say we're working on it. We don't do that right now. We added a caller ID for 2 reasons. 1, so it pops up. 2, for our Premier ones, it's an authenticated experience. You only get into Premier if we know you. So right now, we recognize it. We do a database dip into service entitlements. We check your account level. We check the dates, all in an API that LiveOps fires off for us as you're calling in, happens instantly. And then if we know your phone number, we wouldn't even ask for your passcode. If we don't know it in Premier, we ask for your passcode. It would be relatively trivial with this API, this deep integration LiveOps has, to send that back and update it, but it wasn't the first on our list.
Other questions? There.
Either LiveOps or Salesforce.com Service Cloud has an option for, I know that you've got the quality monitoring portion, but is there a performance management piece built onto that? In other words, can you pull calls by certain things? And also, is there any workforce scheduling kind of concept in there?
Actually, I think we might jump to one of the LiveOps people in the audience, unless one
Sure.
of you guys
Yeah,
feels
that's a
like
good idea.
Who on the LiveOps team? John, you want to take it? This is John Finch, who's the Senior Director for Marketing at LiveOps, and we figured that's a good question for him.
Thank you, Sheila.
I want to go back.
Yeah, so we have the ability to do scheduling as well as to provide the workforce management functionalities at a basic level. At the same time, we can integrate with existing systems that may be already deployed in the contact center. So we're continuing to roll out additional features and functionalities as we improve those features and understand what the necessity is with our customers as we move forward.
Thanks, John. Other questions? Here.
So when the call comes in, is LiveOps doing an API call to Salesforce database to figure out the customer and
Exactly. I could give you an example of that. I'll call from this phone, and I put this phone number in my contact record right before this, and it's a Premier contact. One example is calling into Basic. It will take the phone number, and LiveOps sends an API callback. We put one feature, and then if you're Basic, you accidentally call, we'll promote you to Premier. So I'll do a really quick example of that.
We had this demo waiting just for you.
For Premier support, press 1. For basic support, press 2.
I'm going to go Basic.
Put the mic near the phone.
Thank you for calling Salesforce.com. You have reached our basic support department. We have identified you as a customer with Premier support. You will now be transferred to the Premier support department.
If I was logged in right there, I would get the call.
Line directly for quicker routing.
Instead, it's going to look around. It's going to say, is there a dedicated agent? No, let's give you a lot of options for what you might want to do. Do you have a developer question? Do you want to leave a voicemail for your dedicated rep?
To report a new issue. Press 2 for help with an existing case. Press 3 to leave a message for your Premier support account specialist.
Let's leave a message.
Please leave your name, phone number, and a
This was
brief
all
reason
done by
for your
LiveOps. We
call
kind
after
of
the tone.
laid out what we want to do, and now we have
Ask you
voicemail.
when you are done.
And it goes
Press
into a
star
case in
to return to
Salesforce.
the previous menu. Press 9 to repeat this menu.
This is a test voicemail. I'm shocked that you didn't answer my call.
Press 1 or just a moment, please.
I'll just hang up there. I mean, it goes on and on.
I was wondering when you would have hung up, Joe.
Question? Right, and most of the options, I mean, we've run numbers on it. You don't always have your designated. We only have a small percentage of customers who are even entitled to that one. But we do an API check into Salesforce to see if they're available. Try to route it to the, or we don't even try. LiveOps knows whether they're logged in, and if they're not, we give you a range of options that if you choose to speak to somebody else, you're going to be speaking to a Premier agent, the best agents we have, basically, because of who you are. Typical service scenario, but it's a fairly complex one. Yeah.
Question.
Question for Jack. The example you gave about call recordings where customers said the price was too high for them. The way you pulled that up, was that based on agent dispositioning, or was that some kind of voice recognition of call content?
Agent dispositioning. Yep. And we actually choose to do it in Salesforce so that we can create the views within Salesforce.
Question here.
All three gentlemen seem to be pretty focused on customer service and improving customer service. I was curious if they would share with us if they pay their contact center agents by incentive pay, and so I can measure it and use Salesforce.com to help measure that.
most of our work is actually sales and marketing, not customer service. And so we do use incentive pay. We will structure an arrangement really on a client-by-client basis, but typically it's a shared risk. If it's an inbound call, for example, if we're doing things like a transfer where we're trying to sell incremental products downstream or linking to another partner, it's almost always pure performance. And so in those cases, we have to identify agents that are capable salespeople so they're productive and gainfully engaged and properly incentivized. And I can't remember what the second part of your question was, but that's probably 95% of our business, which creates a kind of a different training, recruitment, and invoicing set of issues.
How do you measure that and monitor and report that?
Well, we measure it, probably for all of us, even the core LiveOps tools. We don't actually do it through Salesforce for the particular performance components.
We do it all in Salesforce. So we have very many CSAT for service.
Yeah, there are fantastic options for doing so. We look at whatever the measurable business objective is. It could be incremental sale. It could be whether we got someone to register for something. So we configure it, and we have a group of statisticians that look at those things on an ongoing basis. And so, again, we will primarily look at the administrative tools, some that Jack showed, some that I showed, to look at the agent performance on a campaign and test and product basis.
Yeah, for me, I do it in Salesforce as well. You can do it in LiveOps. But we wrote a lot of formulas, and we use actually Scribe as well, which is a phenomenal integration partner if you're looking for somebody. A nice thing about them is they don't get into your business processes. Essentially, you just send data to a table, and then Scribe goes out and pulls out of that table and deletes it. So there's, minimizing security problems, and as you change business rules, it doesn't screw up the integration. Very good partner.
Any other questions? I actually have one, and you just hit the word that I was going to ask about, which is security. So very often companies have concerns about security. Clearly, Salesforce.com customers have already gotten over some part of that by putting that application in the cloud. But sometimes there's even more about sensitivity about giving your customers. So can each of you sort of, and not Salesforce.com, we don't need your answer, we know why. But the other two, how did you convince your senior management, and how did you make that business case for the security aspects of giving away that control in your contact center? Why don't you start there?
I tell you, that was a very, very difficult thing for me because, again, AAA, it's a 100-year-old brand. And when I say that the member list is like the Holy Grail, it's the Holy Grail. And so they put me through the ringer, and I said, just go look at the Salesforce.com website. And I think that the credibility of Salesforce.com lends itself to the fact that they spend a lot of time and money on the security aspect of it. And so once, most of the people that I was dealing with did know about Salesforce. And so, again, the credibility was there.
Very similar. The one thing I'll add to that is our conversations are, frankly, less about security at this point and more about privacy, data privacy, particularly because we're working across many different clients. Some of them are in the financial space. So there are ways for us to go and significantly control the amount of data that any agent sees, an administrator sees, a supervisor sees. Those are really the conversations that are much more lengthy and customized to the client.
And for us also, just to kind of piggyback on that, is that, there's 42 different clubs out there. And, although there's a lot of synergy, there's some competition, as you probably know. And I tell you one thing, they don't want their data commingled. They do not want that. But it is. But in essence, the reality of it is if you were to look at your account, you can't see Allied or Mid-Atlantic's data. But what's really great is we actually utilize, it's all in the same database, so I can run reports on all 15 of the clubs I'm working with. So that's another nice thing about Salesforce. It enables you to segment the data.
Okay, I'd like to thank you all for your time and for your questions, and encourage you to go see LiveOps live in the show floor, because LiveOps is powering the call center that's right in the middle of the exhibit hall. So any parts of this that you'd like to see some more about, it's right there live. Enjoy the show, and thank you again for coming.